we're back. I hit record, so I didn't mess that up. But welcome everyone back to my series where I'm talking to 14 fans of the 14 good football teams that made it to the playoffs in the NFL. Obviously, we are here to talk all things Eagles. Before we start, though, just so everybody knows, this is between week 17 and the final week of the season. So if something happens, obviously, we're not going to talk about that here. But before we hit record, I know the big elephant in the room is Jalen Hurts. I don't know what's going on. So hopefully by the time this releases, everything will be fine and he will be ready to go. And it's just all precautionary and whatever. But having said that, how are you feeling about the season? How are you feeling about the team? How are you feeling overall as an Eagles fan?
I'm feeling really good. Obviously, like we talked before the season, I felt like this was going to be, a big year for us. I felt like the writing on the wall was that, we would end up making it here. Our biggest issues last season we addressed, which was coordinators and a secondary. And this offseason, we poured all of our resources in the draft into the secondary. We hired 2 veteran coordinators at the defensive side and the offensive side. So I was very confident coming into the season. And it's just good to know that, everything fell into place and we're in a good spot heading into the playoffs.
Yeah. I feel like everything that we talked about before happened. Right. Like everything you said in our conversation, because I went back and listened to it, everything you said actually happened exactly the way that you said it, which was pretty amazing. And so the other thing is, are you all concerned? I mean, you're concerned anytime a player isn't playing. I got that. Do you think that Hurts is going through this as if to give him more time, or do you think there's actually something bigger that's happening, or how are you all feeling in the fan base about Jalen Hurts right now?
I mean, honestly, I don't know. There's a group of people that's like the world is falling down, but then also at the same time, it's not plenty of time before the playoffs, but we have a whole week before the playoffs. So, Nick Sirianni's saying he's progressing. There's also a chance that he could just be resting. I mean, it's a lot of players that haven't been at practice that are at full strength that's just been taking the opportunity to rest. So honestly, unfortunately, it's just kind of wait and see situation. So see next week. I mean, this wouldn't have been a week where he would have been practicing anyway. So we really just don't know, honestly, until we hit next week. But just keep saying he's progressing. So we don't know.
Yeah. The other thing I want to ask you is, how do you feel about the Saquon resting? Because that announcement came out yesterday or a couple of days ago. How do you feel about him not playing to go for the record?
It's a tough decision, but I was in the camp of resting him because, I mean, you just don't know what can happen in any game. And the ultimate goal of the season is to put yourself in the best position to go after a Super Bowl, and resting your player, resting your most important player on your team is definitely, what you have to do to put your team in the best scenario going into the playoffs. So I was always for resting Saquon. There is a group of people that think that, maybe they're just saying they're resting him just to throw, the Giants off or whatever. So I don't know.
As if they're a team you have to throw off. Sorry, that wasn't nice, but I'm a Steelers fan. I can say what I want. So we're a mess too. It's fine. Interesting. So what surprised you this year? Like going through the season, was there any moment, or was there anything that now you're thinking, just reflecting back, that you're like, I'm kind of surprised that this worked out this way, or that this thing happened?
Honestly, nothing really surprised me. I mean, like I said, we addressed everything. Like we invested capital into the secondary, and now we have one of the best secondaries. We hired 2 experienced coordinators who have led top units before in Kellen and Vic Fangio, and they're doing what we've seen them do before in the past. Like Dallas had a top 3 offense when Kellen Moore was there.
You actually call them Dallas.
Well, I don't call them. I don't call them by their mascot. I always say Dallas. I just don't say.
Okay. Oh, okay.
But yeah, I have to give some context so people,
if you don't know what I'm talking about, you have to go to. I don't have TikTok. I'm assuming it's there too. But you have to go to her Instagram, because every week she will give who she thinks is going to win, and Sometimes I'm just listening to wait to hear you say the little boys. Like, I'm not gonna lie. So, anyways, that's why I said that. So
yeah, but I always say Dallas though, because there's people that actually don't know what I'm talking about when I say the little boys. So I will get them, because it's still a city. So I'll still say Dallas. You know what I mean?
fair. That's fair.
The
Just
Dallas
nothing else.
Boys. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but I don't think anything surprised me. Like, we have the talent, we had the leadership in place. Like, we should have what we are now. Like, we should have been with everything that we have.
Yeah. Well, I remember, okay, listen, I never thought the Steelers were going to win. Never thought that. The Eagles are one of the teams I watch probably just as much as I watch my team. And the one thing but when I was watching them from a different lens, watching my team play them, the one thing I realized about them is the linebackers are better than I knew that they were. And I don't think we talk about them enough because the defensive line is so good. And because the secondary is so good, I feel like the linebackers are like the forgotten about group. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, I was watching that game and I was like, this is a joke. Like, this is just a joke. We have to get turnovers. If not, we're never going to. No, just no. So,
yeah, I was scared in that game for a little while.
Definitely. Yeah, well, at halftime, I was like, we got him right where we want him.
Right.
We got him right where we want him. Like,
he kept turning the ball over, and
I'm like, anytime. If anybody doesn't know this by now, the only way, because I think the Steelers are in a rebuild year, but we don't want to call it a rebuild, but whatever. The only chance the Steelers have to win football games are turnovers.
Yeah.
If we can get turnovers, we have a chance. If we don't, we don't. That's just how it is. Like, we're just not very good. Yeah. But what do you think the strength is of your team? There's so many to choose from. I'm curious to see what you're going to say.
I would probably definitely say the defense overall. Like, obviously, you want to hone in on Saquon Barkley in the offense and, in the offensive line. And, them two together, Saquon Barkley in the offensive line is amazing. But I definitely think the defense is the biggest strength of the team, just all around up front, secondary, the linebacker group. We have a lot of depth on defense as well, especially in, the cornerback room, like Darius Slay, he'll miss some time. And then Isaiah Rodgers will come in, step in, and be effective for him. The defensive line, like, we lost Brandon Graham mid-season and they didn't miss a beat, like missing a starting defensive end who is just so effective like Brandon Graham is. You didn't even notice that, he was out for the season because everybody just stepped up. The defense I feel like definitely sets the tone. We've seen, situations this season where like the offense would come out slow. The offense would be stagnant. We know that, Saquon Barkley does most of his damage in the second half and specifically in the fourth quarter. And that's the defense, that's keeping us in the game, getting those stops when the offense was slow to begin with. So I would definitely say the defense.
Yeah, I love that. So then the opposite question, what do you think your biggest weakness is?
Weakness, I would say probably, I guess you could say the slow starts. In the playoffs, we definitely don't have an opportunity to, be slow at any point. Even in the game against Dallas last week, it ended up being a blowout, but the first couple of series, it was the offense was stagnant. Like, the defense was getting turnovers. The defense was got a pick six, put some points on the board, kept getting stops. But, the first couple of offensive series was a little slow, a little stagnant. Mm-hmm. So I think definitely, like I said, we're a defensive-led team, and that's, worked for us all season long. But I think definitely coming into the playoffs, we have to score fast. We have to strike fast.
It's interesting to hear you say y'all are a defense-led team. That's interesting. I wouldn't think that. But I could see why you would say that.
Yeah.
I think it. So would you say, like, if you all do you think that you all could win in a shootout? Like, do you think, like, listen, good teams have multiple ways to win games.
Yeah.
I got that. But if you were to pick like the style of game you want to play, mm-hmm. would it be like a defensive battle or would you prefer an offensive game?
I mean, we're very good on both sides of the ball.
Yes,
so, like,
that's a fact.
We could win either way. Like, I definitely could see if it was a defensive. And when I say, like, we're defensive led and not leaps and bounds ahead. I just know that this defense definitely is a tone. Like they just have,
they can hold their own.
They're a tone setter. And like we've seen throughout the season, we played numerous high power offenses. The Bengals shut them down. We played the Ravens. We shut them down. We played Washington the first time with Jalen Hurts. I don't count the second time because we didn't have Jalen Hurts. And at that time, they had the hot offense and shut them down. So we just seen the defense just be tested times and answer the call. But I do think if we were in a shootout, I would wholeheartedly trust our defense to get the last stop. If we were in a defensive game, which we've have been this season, I will wholeheartedly believe in Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley getting that extra yard. Like even the first time we played Washington, it was a defensive battle, but when it got tough and later, Saquon Barkley broke loose. Jalen Hurts started taking off with his legs, reaching and getting those first downs. So even if we get into a situation where, you know, it's defense and we need the offense, I'll trust both. The defense just has so much like energy and swagger that everybody on the team feeds off of. Like, celebration started from the defense, like bringing CJ back. He's like a real vocal leader, like, you know, somebody that everybody feeds off of. So I just feel like the defense just brings so much energy.
I think you're not wrong. It's interesting. And you're right. Like y'all, listen, you're a good football team. So you could have went any way. And I probably would have been like, really, I'm shocked you didn't say the defense. So I get it. The other thing too is how has the kicker been? Because I know at one point he was kind of going through his, I don't want to call it his Justin Tucker, but he was kind of going through. How has he been the last few games?
The last few games he's been good. He was very rocky in the beginning of the season.
It was like extra points, right?
It was everything. Like but later in the like these last couple of games, he's been solid. So hopefully going into the playoffs, you know, he carries that into it. But yeah, definitely early in the season, he was missing a lot. Extra points, field goals. But these last couple of games, the game against Dallas, the game against Washington, he made every field goal, you know, we needed him to make. The game prior to that, you know, he was making field goals against who did we play before that? Oh, would have been y'all.
I'm trying to figure out how come when you were talking about high-powered offenses, you weren't like, we stopped the Steelers. You just didn't even.
That was me talking about the defense. Well, y'all didn't have George Pickens when we played y'all, but
we didn't have it. It wouldn't have mattered. Listen, we are who we are. And it is what it is.
That defense, like y'all have really good defense. So that was definitely a test for us that we obviously passed. Overcoming that defense.
The Steelers got the ball 2 times in the second half. Like, I don't think people realize how much of a beatdown that game was. Like the score didn't reflect how much you all dominated that game. So it's like, so whatever. Like we got the ball 2 times in the second half. Like just think about that in context. Yeah, like 2 times. And we fumbled the first one away. And I think the other one was like 4 plays or something like that. So anyways, so since I'm going to be honest and say, I think the Eagles are the complete team. I think that when I look at teams, it would be you all, and then it would be Minnesota probably right after that, just because obviously Detroit is having all these injuries and things like that. So having said that, is there any teams that you are hoping to kind of avoid? Like, obviously you probably don't care who you play. I got it. But are there any teams where you're kind of like, if we could just not play them, that would actually be fantastic?
Yeah, I would honestly say the Bucks. Just because Todd Bowles, like for some reason, Todd Bowles, like he just pulls out all the stops.
Interesting. Okay.
Defensively, against us, like just in the last few seasons, like the Bucks have been a team that's definitely been like
interesting,
real challenge. Yeah, because I mean the Bucks. I mean now that Baker Mayfield is Baker Mayfielding, and then getting Mike Evans back and all that. Like, yeah, the Bucks have been a team that's been like, I think since Jalen Hurts has been a starter, we're like 2-6 versus.
Oh, okay. So that's y'all's team. That's the. Okay.
Now, obviously, they had Tom Brady at one point, and you know that was the year they went on to go to the Super Bowl. Yeah. But yeah, the Bucks have always been a team in the last couple of seasons that's been like a thorn. So them winning their division, if they win the division, I'm still holding out hope That
For
they
the Falcons.
don't. Right. If they win the division, they would be what, 4? We would be 2. So obviously we wouldn't be playing them in the first round, but in the second round, I mean, I don't know how things shake out.
Yeah.
I doubt we would be able to play a 4 in the second round. I don't know. But I wouldn't want, to even test. I mean, the Bucks beat the Lions this season. Like, the Bucks are a team that beat us and the Lions. Like, I mean, when we played the Bucks, we didn't have anybody. We didn't have AJ. We didn't have Devontae.
I wonder why the Bucks. I wonder why they match up well with you all. That's interesting.
They just have a really good defense, and they're just coached very well defensively. Like, I don't know why, like, in this last era, like, we obviously was in a rebuild at one point. Jalen Hurts played them his first season as a starter. I think we played them during the season, and then we played them in the playoffs. And then, like I said, that was a Tom Brady Bucks team. Last season, we beat them in the regular season. Obviously, they beat us in the playoffs, but I feel like anybody would have beat us in the playoffs last year. A terrible team. I don't know. Todd Bowles just has that scheme that's just like,
just works.
Yeah, up front defensively, really, when it comes to the defensive line. I mean, they have talent on the Bucks. Like,
yeah, they do. It's just interesting that would be the team, and because it's just interesting. Like, I kind of feel that way about the Rams and the NFC, like, because nobody really knows. Like, I played this game with somebody. We were talking about something else, and I was like, name 3 people that play for the Rams that are not named, like, there aren't the 2 receivers and that aren't the quarterback. Like, name 3 people, and almost nobody can really name the guys. But all they do is just win games.
Yeah.
And so they're a weird team too. So I feel like some people mention them, but the Bucks are kind of similar. But I hear what you're saying. Like, yeah, okay. So let's say this is 3 minutes after the Eagles just won the Super Bowl. And I call you for whatever reason. I'm like, girl, they did it. Oh my God, the Eagles. And I say to you, how did they do this? Like, how did they get this done? Like, if the Eagles win the Super Bowl, what will be the reason why?
I'm going to say, again, the defense, because, I mean, we were in the Super Bowl last time and the offense move. And it came down to the defense not being able to get stops.
Yeah.
I know this is, offense, but I still do believe, like, defense wins championships. It's going to come down to, creating turnovers in the playoffs, getting crucial stops, being very sound defensively. I feel like, the offense can afford to make mistakes here and there. But I just feel like the defense just has to be sharp and has to, maintain that sharpness throughout the playoffs. So I definitely think it will be because of the defense. And last time we won the Super Bowl was off big defensive play. I mean, Brandon Graham in the strip sack. So it's just, just got to get those key stops. And it's a lot of talented teams that's going to, be coming through. A lot of, like, juggernaut offenses, like, especially in the AFC with, like, the Bills and the Chiefs. So, like, it's definitely going to be a defensive task, in my opinion.
So if you could have your perfect Super Bowl matchup, who would it be? Who would you want to see come out of the AFC?
Who would I want to see? I mean, obviously, I would want to see a team, that ain't the Chiefs.
Anybody not named Chiefs?
Right. I don't want to see the Chiefs. Like, I just feel like the Chiefs are just so played out. I just definitely don't want to see the Chiefs. I would say, I feel like for the culture, it would definitely be the Ravens.
Yeah. I'm getting a lot of Eagles, Ravens people that are,
but the Ravens fans, honestly, I'm kind of sick of Ravens fans this season. I didn't know Ravens fans were, like, so rah-rah, like, until this season. Like, they just have a lot of mouth on them. So I honestly don't even know if I would want the Ravens. But I feel like for the culture-wise, and I mean, people would love that. Derrick Henry, Saquon.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Like, it would definitely be a for the culture Super Bowl. So I guess I'll have to say the Ravens.
Yeah. Ravens, Eagles would do numbers. It would have to, because, like, it would be a new champion. So that always gets people excited. Right. But also it's like the battle of the black quarterbacks, the battle of the running backs, the battle of the defenses, the battle of the offenses. Because I feel like all year, Eagles and Ravens have had probably the top offenses and defenses because I have the fortune of playing both of you guys this year. So I've had to do a little bit of research. Right. So I'm like, oh, great. We keep playing all the great teams. This is great. What can go wrong?
They have a hard schedule.
Yeah. Chiefs, Eagles, Ravens. What?
Yeah.
Who? On what watch?
So rude.
Yeah. So as we wind down this, like I always say, I do these because I feel like fans know more about their teams than we will ever hear on like ESPN or whatever show is going on. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be watching the Eagles for the first time this year because they've been so focused on their team. So in the playoffs, is there any other thing you would want people to know, like as they watch the Eagles, to be aware of or to pay attention to, or something that you've just noticed that, like for me, I always say the Steelers aren't going to score a lot of points. So just take a deep breath, be ready for defense, be ready for, Phil working on, hopefully we can get a good punt off because that's who we are. Like, what is it with the Eagles? Like, what would you like people to know when they're watching the Eagles?
I would definitely probably say, hopefully this changes by the playoffs, but I doubt it. Us being a second half team because, like everybody probably knows from watching the media and whatever, we
fast starts.
Yeah, we usually get all slower starts, even though that changed before Jalen Hurts got hurt against Washington. We was actually walking Washington down. So I feel like that fortune
that loss piss you off?
It really didn't, because I mean it's Jalen Hurts got hurt. So it's nothing you can do about it. Like
I'm like that with the Browns loss that we had this year. Like I'm like, yeah, but then when we played the Browns. Like,
wait, what? Why are you like that with the Browns?
So the Browns are terrible, first and foremost. It was a game that I thought Mike Tomlin did his worst coaching job, with just making certain decisions. Like he was going for it on fourth down. We had just played the Ravens on Sunday. It was like one of those games where I'm like,
game?
Yeah. And I'm like, what, as coaches, like sometimes I don't know what they talk about during the week, but it's like certain, how like I watch the game and there's certain things where I'm like, we can't do this, we can't do this, we can't do this. And then we go do all three of those things. And I'm like, did we practice this week, guys?
Right.
So I don't know. Do you watch college football?
Here and there, but not.
Okay. Did you watch Texas?
Yeah, I did watch that.
So similar. So we get the ball right under 2 minutes, and our coach doesn't run the ball. We just pat that's kind of what Mike Tomlin did with the Browns. And I'm just like, and then again, that one loss is going to come back to haunt us because we could be 3 games up on the Ravens, but we blew it. So it's like the one loss that I will always nag me because I'm like, and they're terrible. Yeah. And they're the Browns.
But they're y'all the Browns be giving people a little fit here and there.
They won 4 games? Absolutely not.
They be giving people a little headache, though.
You can't blow that game. Yeah. And if you blow it because you lost it, you lost it. The coaching decisions, like there was one time Mike Tomlin declined a penalty. And I'm like, why are we declining penalties in the snow? Except all penalties in the snow. Yeah. Anyway, see, you got me off on this little tangent. So that game.
No, that was a crazy game. I remember that game.
Yeah. So yeah, I think, and one thing I will say, because I watch a lot of the Eagles, I'm a quasi Eagles fan. I will admit it. I think I even said in a couple of my videos, like, don't judge me, Steelers fans. I'm sorry. I cheer for the Eagles. My bad. Is you never know what you're going to get from the Eagles. In a good way. You never know if it's going to be like an offensive explosion, a running back explosion, an AJ Brown game, a Devontae Smith game, a linebacker game, a corners game, a Carter game. Like you just never know what kind of game you're going to get. And shout out to that offensive line this year for, doing what they're supposed to do. So anyways, I enjoy watching the Eagles. I think it's a fun watch, and I can't wait to see how they look in the playoffs and who they play and all the things. So that's how I feel. So
I'm excited. I'm rooting for y'all too. I got some Steelers fans in the family. So why do you look like that? Hey, y'all got a good matchup. Texas, y'all can beat Texas.
Yeah. So do you know off the top of your head how you're doing on record predictions? You're pretty good. Do you know what your record is?
I have no idea. I'm kind of mad about this week because everybody's resting. I feel like this is just going to ruin my record this week because more than half the teams are resting everybody. So it could go either way. But
this is your moment. This could be the moment where you get a clean sweep.
That's true. But I'm betting on backups, third strings. Like for us, it's going to be our third string quarterback playing. Like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Oh, it's Kenny Pickett. They're not going to play Kenny Pickett.
Because Kenny Pickett got his ribs.
Who's the third string quarterback?
Tanner McKee, who honestly should be the second string.
I don't
We
even know who that
drafted
is.
him last season.
Oh, okay. Where's he from?
Stanford.
Okay. So that's also, I can see why they're not playing Saquon. I wouldn't want him out there with the backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Playing him with a third string. And then he's not even like as Saquon-ish without Jalen. Like
Saquon-ish. He doesn't have all the superpowers.
Right. He doesn't even have all like the superpowers without Jalen.
Yeah.
Like he's better with Jalen. So
yeah.
It's not even the same with him and Tanner McKee. Like,
and I just wanted it for him. I just wanted, in my mind, I had it played out where he was going to break the record. I had this all in my head. And it was going to be against the Giants. And he was going to have that moment where he got to kind of, I don't know what he was going to do about it. He probably was just going to run to the sideline and get celebration. He's probably not going to do anything. But in my mind, he was going to do something. And it was going to be his moment. But it just isn't going to happen. So maybe next year. Y'all don't play us next year. So he can run all over the teams that.
Well, he barely played against y'all. Remember, he was hurt half the game.
Yeah, people were mad at Minka. They were like, he hit him dirty. I'm like, oh gosh, okay. You can't hit him above the head. Got it. You can't hit him too low below the hips. Got it. You can't hit him too high in the middle of their midsection. Got it. Like, what do you want these guys to do? They're trying to make a tackle. Like, no one's going to try to injure Saquon Barkley, of all people. Like, there's a couple people we'd like to injure. It's not going to be Saquon Barkley. But but anyways, we will end this. We let people know where they can find you, what you're into, whatever you want to share with us. Obviously, I put everything in the description notes, but whatever you want to share.
Yes, y'all can find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok at Symone with the Sports, SYMONE with the Sports. Y'all can find me on Twitter, Symone_Stanley.
Awesome. Oh, I forgot to ask you, are you excited about Michael Vick and Deshaun Jackson getting head coaching jobs at HBCUs?
That's crazy that like they both ended up in the same conference. It's just random.
Yeah. And like, I'm not trying to be funny here, but did you know that they coached?
No.
Okay.
Maybe they coached like, if they did, maybe, high school a little bit, maybe. But I had no idea either one of them had coaching aspirations. And the fact that it came like basically back to back, it's just all so random.
Yeah, it's like somebody said Michael Vick got a job. What was like a job doing what? Like,
yeah, like I didn't even so random. Like it. And then when Deshaun Jackson came out, I was like, I don't know, it's just so random because he's doing a podcast.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he's a head coach. Like it's just random.
Yeah. I was like, maybe I'm out of the loop and everybody knows that this is a thing.
No,
so
it was extremely random to me. Like,
okay, awesome.
Maybe, well, maybe like they've been saying it, but for me, it was just out the blue.
Yeah. Well, I've always heard like everybody wants Ray Lewis to get a job. And I'm like, does Ray Lewis know that he's supposed to be coaching college football? Has anybody told Ray?
They'll just randomly pick a favorite player and be like, I want to be a coach. Like, is he even interested in coaching?
Yeah. I blame Coach Prime. Like, everyone's like, yeah, he wants to be a coach. I'm like, does he though? I don't even know. I can't even think the last time I've seen Ray Lewis.
And not to mention, well, Ray Lewis was like, didn't he do something for Colorado? I think he might have just spoke with the team or something.
Girl, everybody does something for Colorado. I don't know.
Right.
It's too much to keep up with. But anyways, thank you for coming on and humoring me about Deshaun Jackson and Michael Vick. Because I was like, maybe somebody else knows that they've been, doing the high school coach. I don't know. It was just so random. But hey, they got the job. I hope they win all of their games and they do amazing and do whatever it is they want to do. Because
that's gonna be a good game when they go head to head.
Yeah, because I'm interested to see like who they get to go there.
Well, Deshaun got Antonio Gates Jr. Why are you laughing? It's random, right?
It's just random.
It is.
Like, I mean, that's probably a great pickup, but it's just random. It's random. So I don't know. I mean, can we be honest? It's kind of like when they were like, Bill Belichick's going to be the coach of North Carolina.
Right. It came out of nowhere.
What?
But even that makes more sense because, I mean, Bill Belichick is a coach. He's been wanting to coach.
Yeah.
It's just random because I've never heard about Mike Vick wanting to coach. I've never heard about Deshaun Jackson wanting to coach. And then all of a sudden they're head coaches.
Yeah.
Like,
North Carolina said that one of the reasons why they fired Mac Brown is because he was like 73. I'm like,
yeah,
so then you go hire Bill Belichick? Okay, just give his son the job. You didn't
right,
have to hire Bill to get his son. You could have just gave his son the job.
right.
But whatever. Like, you know how these people do business, so whatever. Anyways, well, thanks for chatting with me. I appreciate you, and I will be cheering for the Eagles during the playoffs. And just cheer for the Steelers to just win one game. After that, you can drop us
You
off
gotta
on
be
the curve.
positive. You gotta be positive.
I think it depends on our matchups. I'll say that because there's some teams we don't score enough points to compete with. Like the Bills just score a lot of points.
Yeah.
And so we can't compete. That we're not built to compete with them. The Ravens, obviously, with us, you never know. But like if we play like the Texans, okay. I'm not saying we're gonna, Texans, okay. It's just the matchup.
I feel like anybody can beat the Texans. Texans is a hot mess. I feel like y'all could beat the Texans. I feel like the easiest, like if there has to be an easy, your opponent, I feel like the weakest opponent in the AFC playoffs is the Texans. See, unfortunately for the NFC, it ain't no weak.
Yeah, I don't think anybody is. Well, if somebody is going to be weak in the NFC, I would probably say the Packers, and only because they're young. And sometimes I think that inexperience.
I don't even know. I don't want to talk bad about the Packers because that's probably who we're going to have to play. But the Packers are just so
there's something.
Like they just missed a spark. Like they haven't won a single game they haven't won a single must win or quote unquote prove it game that they had to win. Like they got swept by the Lions. They got swept by the Vikings. Like they didn't beat us, and they played us at our worst. Week 1 through 4, we was a terrible football team.
That's true. Yeah. So I don't know. And you know what? I guess there is a path forward for us to play the Texans and then match up with the Ravens. There's actually a possibility of that being our path.
Mm-hmm.
So and the funny thing is, you know who everybody is scared to play in the AFC?
Ooh.
The Steelers.
Why?
Because they don't know what we're gonna do. They don't know. They just don't know. You know.
Yeah, y'all do have like that unknown.
It's the defense. Yeah, and it's like if the defense shows up and we get turnovers, what if? And then nobody really knows. I mean, when I say scared, like take that relatively, but like the Rams fans are like, or the Ravens fans are like, we don't want to play them. Texans fans are kind of like, oh gosh. So I'm like, that's so funny, but you just never know what you're gonna get with us, and that's
y'all are a solid team. Like I said, y'all just have to. I don't even know. Like I honestly feel like George Pickens, he a wild card, but if he's playing, I feel like, and then I don't know why y'all haven't been playing y'all rookie Roman.
So he was on IR. I think he just came off. He just came off IR. So we'll see if he's out there. Yeah, I also feel like I don't know if I said this in this conversation, but like the Steelers are in a rebuild, but we don't want to call it a rebuild because Steelers don't rebuild. But we are kind of in a rebuild. We're very young. We have a lot of guys on 1-year deals. We have a lot of this is a rebuild. It's just we have a really good coach in Mike Tomlin that has figured out ways to win games. So we're in the playoffs. We're not 4 and whatever or 5 and whatever. And we'll pick middle of the road, and that's just what we'll do. So. We'll hold out to hope. Well, hope is not a strategy, but it's going to be my freaking strategy. So
y'all just got to be positive in the playoffs. It's anybody's.
Yeah, we'll pray. I'll pray for us. Anyways, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.